Yo lo traduciré en vivo, ¿ok? Gracias.
All right. Laura, are you ready to open up interpretation for Carlos?
Yes, thank you.
And then I'm going to pass it to you, Dr. Skelly.
Okay, I'm going to stop my video because my network bandwidth says it's low. So you'll just have to look at my picture. I'm much better looking in person than this photo here. Welcome to everybody who is paying attention here. I wanted to just thank you all and your students for the work that you've done this year trying to get us off to a great start. I think we found our students to be extraordinarily cooperative. They do what we ask them to do. When they've had occasion to be on campus, they've listened to all the directives about health and all those pieces. And I think that people are getting after the work. School has started. Today was the end of day 12. So far, while it's not been easy, teachers are reporting to us that kids are doing the work that they need to do and paying attention and participating to the best of their ability. So thank you for that. We also appreciate your support as we go through this and dealing with all the bumps and all the issues that came up that led to our start to the year. We've talked about the theme or themes for the year: equity, flexibility, and choice. And I have to, I'll talk about choice first. I think those of you who've been paying attention know that we've made a big effort this year to give students choice, to allow students to take classes in other places, to build robust independent study opportunities for students, and then also to reduce the number of classes that kids are expected to do and many of the other parts of the school year. Flexibility, that's something that we all need as we work through this year. And then finally, around equity, I would say that the biggest challenges that we've had so far this year are around creating equitable learning environments for our students. We struggled to get the kind of bandwidth that we need to have robust instruction to all of our community in terms of the students who don't have both an acceptable place to get online and then also getting online itself. But we've made strides there. Our students are resilient. The staff are empathetic and patient and flexible. And so we're working through those pieces. So I appreciate you coming out tonight. We're anxious to learn how it's going from your perspective. Sometimes you are in a bubble, no pun intended, in terms of what you're hearing. And so tonight's a chance for us to respond to the thoughts that we've gotten, the time that people took on the thought exchange, and give some feedback here as we go forward. And then we're always interested in hearing from you and from students as we go forward. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Julia.
All right, good evening. I'll officially introduce myself. My name is Julia Kemke. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and we actually have a pretty large panel here. I'm not going to introduce each one of them. I'll let them introduce themselves. In the first part of our agenda tonight really is to go through some of the upcoming family engagement events we have. And so each one of the individuals here will provide some overview of the different events that we have for families available. And then we'll go into some of, as Dr. Skelly alluded to, we'll go into some of the main themes that came up through the thought exchange. We'll talk about how to support students in the virtual classroom. We'll also talk about Canvas and some of our major tools and how we support students in the virtual classroom, talk about how to get technical support for students, a bit about what our teachers have learned and are doing in support of students. And we'll also cover some of the attendance and some of the technical aspects of the classrooms and what it looks like. So just to move us along, because I want to make sure we have enough time for everything we want to cover this evening, I'll move on to the next slide. Oh, and the last thing I wanted to mention is that you saw an email, sorry, Laura, go to the previous slide, comments at SMUHSD.org. If there is something that we do not cover during this presentation, a broad question that you feel like you know others have, we welcome those questions to that email address. If it is something specific to your student or your situation, we do invite you to reach out to your school directly, because this is more of a general email address. But all of that we cover tonight, and if there are additional questions that come up during the course of our evening, we'll create a frequently asked questions and answers to that. So go on to the next slide. So as I mentioned, we want to just make sure that we cover and provide a little marketing to some of the events that are upcoming for different groups of students in our district. So I'm actually going to pass it right over to Dr. Showman, who's going to talk about Spanish-speaking town halls. She's going to pass it on to our April, who will talk about mental health and so forth and so on. And each one of our panelists during this part will speak briefly to some of those upcoming events and then pass it on to one of their colleagues. So take it away, Dr. Showman.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Samia Showman. I'm the manager of English Learner and Academic Support Programs here at the district office. Thanks for joining us. We have been conducting monthly series in Spanish. We do have about 33% of our families in our district whose home languages are Spanish. And so we've tried to create an authentic experience by mirroring what you're going to find in these ongoing family engagement series. We've already covered some of the topics you'll be talking about tonight around synchronous and asynchronous learning, our bell schedules, academic expectations of students, how to get help from various personnel on campus. Our next town hall will be on September 21st, and we're partnering with the wellness team to talk about mental health and wellness for both students and families. We have had really strong attendance at these town halls. And like I mentioned previously, our future topics will start to align with this particular family engagement series. And so now I will pass it on to April.
Great, thank you, Samia. I appreciate that. My name is April Torres. I'm manager of mental health services. I'm at the district office, but I work with all 29 of our mental health therapists that are between our 7 school sites and other programs like Middle College, Bridge, and some therapeutic programs as well. So a little bit about our program. We're committed to supporting a whole child approach to education, which focuses attention on the empathic mindset to ensure child safety, develop resiliency, and foster connection with our students to improve their social and emotional well-being. Our mental health services offer students individual and group counseling, crisis intervention, case management, and parent, family, and staff consultations, both virtually and or by phone during campus closures. We understand that part of supporting the whole child approach is family connection and communication. So in addition to some of the services that we already provide for connection and communication, like Care Solace, which is our online resource offered at no cost. It's simple, fast, and safe. It's 24/7 concierge service that connects students, our families, and staff to mental health and substance abuse treatment for specialized needs beyond school-based mental health, regardless of health insurance status. They are available to support in multiple languages. We attend town hall meetings, PTO meetings, Latino Parent Night meetings, our Stanford Teen Mobile Health Van, providing services for students and families with little to no access to healthcare. So we have COVID testing happening right now, immunizations, physical exams, sensitive healthcare needs. More of that can be found on our district webpage. We have a relatively new program started in this past spring called Parent Connect. So it's weekly virtual support meetings and families providing tools to proactively resolve conflicts with your teens. improve attendance and school involvement. This may be encouraged through site administration, your school or wellness staff, and or parent request. This program is available in both English and Spanish. And lastly, we are very excited to partner with the Peninsula Healthcare District to launch a monthly Parenting in Place Masterclass series that'll run from October to May, which is aimed at support for families and teachers with nationally recognized speakers presenting specified parenting topics, live webinars with their Facebook group for support and access to video and PDF content through the school year. So some of the topics will be focused on routines, boundaries, managing time, building resiliency, motivation, setting limits, and healthy emotional development. We will be reaching out in the coming weeks to give you more information so that you can sign up and join us for that Parenting in Place Masterclass series. I invite you to explore additional mental health and wellness supports and services on our district and school websites. Thank you.
So
Hello,
now,
I'm Jennifer. Hello, I'm Jennifer Houth. I'm the multi-tiered system of support coordinator, and I also oversee the school counselors. And I wanted to take a moment to review the college application support that we will be providing this semester to all of our seniors and our 12th grade families. First off, as part of the town hall series on September 15th at 6 p.m., we will be hosting a college application specific town hall. So please mark your calendar if you are a parent of a current senior student. We're going to be doing individual senior meetings with school counselors and our college and career advisors. We have a UC application workshop as well as a CSU application workshop, both scheduled for October. And we will be doing site-based workshops as well around the Common App, the FAFSA, the California Dream Act, and as well as essay writing. We have already started our virtual college rep visits. So they used to come to our school sites, but now we are hosting a virtual room for them to come to our campuses and for students to join the Zooms and learn about the colleges. We have a college fair on October 15th. We're still determining the time, but the date is firm. So we will host hundreds of colleges from around the state and the country in a virtual environment on October 15th. We're also updating our school profile for all the four-year colleges to include language regarding the credit, no credit grades from spring 2020, the fall distance learning plan, as well as the limited availability of the SAT and the ACT testing dates and sites. We are supporting our community college application students as well, and scholarship resources and support. Each of our campuses will be hosting a college and career planning family night in addition to our town hall. The dates for Aragon and Burlingame and Cap and Hillsdale, Mills, Peninsula, and San Mateo are all listed on the slide. You can check the individual school sites website under school counseling, college and career planning, and all of the information will be listed there, as well as communications sent directly to you as a parent. Thank you. I'm going to pass it over to Holly Wade, who will talk to us about special education. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. As always, we want to appreciate and honor all of the hard work that our families and students are doing for those students who are supported with IEPs and in the district. We will continue to monitor the needs of those students and your family needs through the individual IEP process. So if you have questions or concerns, we encourage you to reach out to your child's case manager at their school sites, and we will continue to address any concerns or questions that you may have. We know that this is a difficult learning platform for some of our students, and we want to make sure to continue the conversation with you. Throughout this semester, we'll be offering different topics to support the needs of our students to participate on the distance learning platform and maintain social emotional health and balance. We will be putting out a series of parent engagement offerings so that we can address both global issues as well as any individual issues that you have. We had 4 successful town hall meetings so far addressing specific cohorts of students, and those were well attended, and I think we were able to answer some questions and help families as they navigate this process. We'll continue to host town halls specifically for students with IEPs, And we're also launching a series for our Spanish-speaking families to address the IEP process, how to get support. If you have specific concerns about your child at this time, we will be sending out those announcements through our engagement process, and we'll make sure that you are notified of those offerings as they come up. I will pass it on to Mr. Morales.
Good evening. My name is Fabian Morales. I am the dual enrollment and concurrent enrollment coordinator for the school district. You have my email there and the ability to make an appointment. The reason why I'm making myself available this way is because sometimes concurrent enrollment can take on a variety of complexities, and I want to ensure that your student is properly supported. Again, my main job is helping students access community college courses either through our dual enrollment process, which is courses that are currently being offered at our school sites, or through concurrent enrollment, which means students who are accessing courses at the particular colleges, whether it be Skyline, Cañada, or College of San Mateo. In the near future, we'll be offering workshops in October and November in preparation for the spring 2021 enrollment. And we'll be also conducting additional outreach via PTO, Latino parent groups, and other interested parent groups to ensure that we are providing information to our parents so that their students can access those opportunities. I will now have the pleasure of passing it back to, I believe, Dr. Julia Kemp.
Thank you. So I just want to acknowledge that this is the team that's working in order to support your students. We are really passionate about making sure that even in this virtual environment that we're supporting your children and their ability to access the curriculum and that they're staying healthy and safe. So thank you for all of our advertisers there. And we're going to move on to the next piece of this evening, where we're going to talk about some of the themes that came on up on the thought exchange. This was the first time that the district has launched a thought exchange. So we appreciated the platform, a different way to kind of engage you, our community, on some of the things that are on the top of your mind. I do want to acknowledge Amy Johnstone from Burlingame High School, who helped us set it up and think about how to use that tool. So these are some of the themes you'll see on this slide that we were able to pull from the thoughts that were shared. And we're going to cover these the best we can tonight. And we are thinking about ways to make sure that we address some of the themes, because some of them came up as concerns on how we're making sure your students are able to access and feel comfortable in this virtual environment. One of the first ones was balancing workload and homework. And so we'll talk about that a little bit later. Supporting students' social needs in the virtual environment. We know that this environment is not connecting us as humans as we're used to. So we'll talk a little bit about our goals around that and how we might address some of the students' social needs in this environment. The learning schedule structure, we had quite a few comments about how that's going. And then brain breaks and Zoom fatigue. So those are some of the main themes that came up through the thought exchange. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to cover those topics as well as some that we know are commonly asked questions. So we want to be able to cover both of those as we move forward. So you can go to the next slide. So this is just a breakdown of the participation for that thought exchange. We had 561 participants. There were 635 thoughts and 17,000 ratings. So we had a lot of action on that first thought exchange launch. You can go to the next slide. And then we thought this was an interesting way to see some of the comments and the thoughts and what that appeared in a word cloud. So the larger the word, the more often that was mentioned. So you'll see screen and friends coming up as, you know, larger words, meaning that those are some areas that we're continuing to have to think about and how to support students. So that was just a bit about the thought exchange. I'm going to launch right into some of the main topics. And I have a couple of my fellow colleagues here that are going to help me with this piece as well. I do want to mention that we'll take us up to 7 o'clock. We're probably not going to have time for Q&A, but we'll see how our timing goes here. If there are things that come up that are not addressed during our presentation, again, you can use that comments at SMUHSD.org to bring those forward. So the virtual learning and supporting your student here. You probably are really aware that each one of the periods, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, are about 75 minutes. And students should be accessing their classrooms through Canvas, and that's our learning management system. And this is where students can access their assignments, they can access their Zoom links to get onto the video conferencing platform, and then their gradebook. We will talk a bit about how you as a parent can get an observer account to see into Canvas, and you actually should have had a letter to that effect explaining how to get one of those accounts. And then Zoom is our main mode of video conferencing. And we know that there are really great things about it. We're so lucky that we are in a stage, I guess, in history that we have video conferencing, but there have definitely been some glitches. So we're continuing to work with our teachers on that platform, but it has allowed us to do the synchronous learning that many of our families have chosen. Next slide. So one of the main themes that came up in the thought exchange was around homework. And even in our in-person time, we know homework is an area of concern, and how do we make sure that students have a healthy balance? And particularly, we know there was a connection between having homework and being on the screen all day, and now they're on the screen for homework and on the screen for their classes. And so this came up as one of those areas of concern. We will continue to follow our district's board policy around homework, and you'll see that that means homework is limited to 15% of their grade. And really the intention of this is to decrease the amount of homework that students are experiencing, and we'll still continue to follow our holiday-free breaks. We are monitoring this area to make sure that we continue to support teachers in identifying ways to allow students to have, a healthy balance in their life. Next slide. So this was the other area, and we've had a lot of conversations with both teachers and principals around online Zoom fatigue. And we know also, well, many people in the business world have also experienced, the online time and video. It can be very fatiguing, that you feel more tired after. We're seeing emerging research around that. So we are working with teachers on ways to allow students, to have breaks during the course of those 75-minute periods. Even turning off the video we know helps. So we're providing teachers some suggestions and providing them permission to, do different kind of activities to allow for that. We do also feel real strongly that synchronous time with teachers is incredibly important. So we're trying to maintain that balance between both of those. And, asynchronous time is something that we are, considering allowing for on Wednesdays a little bit more. But some teachers have mentioned that, they really do need the 3 days with their students. So we are going to allow for some, fluidity during that time. But we understand that it's hard. I mean, we've all been on the video probably all day. So it is something that we're watching and thinking about different creative ways to ensure that students have some breaks around that. And the last one, this came up quite a bit, and we heard from students as well. So some of those thoughts were from our students. This one had to do with, like, how do I make friends in the online environment? And there were a couple thoughts, particularly around freshmen and their need to connect and make some friendships, within the classes. So this is definitely an area that we're working on as well. Some teachers have some strategies in which they're building community in their classroom, and we're working on making sure those are shared district-wide, so students have a chance to get to know each other. And we've heard a lot about it being a little bit more awkward on video. So what are some ways that we can break that down so students can feel like they can connect to some of their classmates? There are club events available in the virtual world that is a good way that for students to connect if they are having a harder time with that. And this is just, again, that emerging area that we're going to continue to work and ensure students have some moments that they can connect to some of their classmates, because we also know the connections between human to human is one way that students will learn. So those are some of the main themes that came up through the thought exchange. And I'm going to pass it over to Brian Simmons, who's going to speak to some of the other major commonly asked questions.
Thank you, Julia, Dr. Kempke. My name is Brian Simmons. I'm the Director of Curriculum Assessment for the school district. And yeah, I'm here just to say a little bit about kind of making sure your students are practicing good netiquette, as we like to call it now. So certainly teachers, just as they do always, set forth a set of classroom norms about what's expected of students in their class in terms of, comportment as well as engagement with what's happening in their classes. And so you should expect to see, and should have seen already probably in teacher syllabi, those expectations. Certainly students are encouraged to follow similar expectations as they normally would. I think that, we know that this is a new platform. And so students are navigating everything from, do I put my picture up? Do I put my image up? Do I not put my image up? And we do want to make sure that that families know that when teachers are going to be doing any recording, it's purely for the purpose of reviewing that information inside their classroom, and they will let students know when that's happening. And if students choose to turn off their video, that's totally appropriate in that moment, but it's really only for the use in that class. And it's essentially like sharing, essentially what, a lesson or a good idea or a discussion that was worth sharing inside their own little classroom ecosystem. It's not intended for publishing online or anything like that ever. There's a nice set of resources there at the bottom of the page from a well-respected organization called Common Sense Media, which describes a lot of really good ways of helping teens in particular kind of navigate online learning, but also just their online life in general. That's a resource you as a family hopefully knew about already before this period. But certainly that is a great resource to connect to help students be safe and sane when it comes to their online lives. In addition, so I'm going to shift gears a little bit kind of away from the netiquette piece of it to now talk just a little bit about support. As you all can imagine, this has been a tremendous lift for the school district to provide support to students and families as we have moved into this fully online environment. And so we have bulked up a bit our student hardware and login support resources. So you can see here, there's an email and a phone number that families and students can contact when they're having issues. And we know there are a diversity of issues out there, from logging into Zoom to even just getting, maybe your device to connect to the internet. And in some instances, we are providing students with district supported hardware, a Chromebook and or a Wi-Fi hotspot, and there can be issues there. And so we hope that you're able to utilize that resource, that phone number, to get baseline support. And then those folks will then, if it's something that has to do with one of our digital tools, they might sort of hand you off to one of our library media technicians for technical support. And so, we are doing our best to try to address the questions and issues. I know that many of our site administrators and our counselors and others are everybody's leaning in to try to support this effort to have, 9,000 plus students online simultaneously every day. And so it's a big task, but I think we're up to it. And I should say that if you have questions about, like, if you have a district Chromebook, sorry. I can't talk and actually move the slides, it seems. But if you have questions about the Chromebooks and how they operate, there's an FAQ there at the bottom of the page you can link on in this. And again, this slide deck can be found on the district website at the end of this meeting. So this is just a nice little graphic representation, and there is a Spanish version of this as well, which is available on our website as well. But basically, it kind of takes students through the decision-making tree of, if something's not working, is it an issue with Canvas? Is it an issue with your hardware? It's a little complicated sometimes because we have a variety of potential issues that might be the cause of the trouble. In general, we are a Google district, and so if students use their email, which is hosted by Google, that tends to get them their district issued email and password. That tends to get them through most of their troubles. It's when you're trying to use a non-district email, that's often where the beginning of the troubles begin for students. And so in general, if you're troubleshooting at home, be sure to try to remind your student, are you using your district level email? Are you using your password that you're supposed to use for your district email? Because that you can have issues with Zoom, you can have issues with Canvas, you can have issues just getting into a Chromebook or into the Chrome browser if you're not using the proper email. So that's a really important one. And again, the phone numbers and support lines are indicated here on this slide. I think it's, you know, in general, I feel like we've got a decent set of resources to support people. So please do reach out to them if you're having trouble getting access to our tools and resources. Sorry. I'm now going to hand it off to my colleague, Don Scatena, who's going to talk a little bit about what does attendance look like?
So traditional attendance is, it's very different than what we're used to when we're talking about when a student is in-person learning. And so we had to differentiate between when someone's in person in a classroom and present and when a student's absent. So the state and the county office instructed us to create sort of a different set of ways to measure students, and they're using what district learning engaged and not engaged. So attendance is very different. I mean, it's we want to make sure that if the student is not engaged in a virtual classroom, in a distance learning classroom, if they're not engaged in independent study, then we respond as a school. We are asking our teachers to respond first in outreach. We then have auto calls that are going out to the homes on a nightly basis in the evening to let you know that your child was not engaged at one point in the past day or couple days. There will be messaging from the school site. And in some rare cases, if it's something that is prevalent and is happening often, we may do a home visit to check to make sure the student has the resources and supports necessary to have achievement in this distance learning environment. And so attendance is very different than what we're used to. We do have to have both systems sort of going on, like the in-person and the distance learning going on simultaneously, because if and when we have students in person, but there are some families who opt to stay home and continue distance learning, we have to have both systems sort of going simultaneously and be able to track that. So that's it for attendance. You'll get more information from your school sites in regards to that. Next, I'm going to introduce Jessica Valera, who's our District Instructional Technology Coordinator.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jessica Valera, the District Instructional Technology Coordinator, and my primary roles are to work with our District Professional Development Coordinator in this huge lift of moving education into this new phase. I also work closely with the school site instructional technology coordinators. Each school site has a teacher on special assignment, and part of their assignment is to support teachers with instructional technology. As you've heard before and in this slideshow and probably previously, Canvas is the main hub, the learning management system for our district. That means that students can access all of their coursework through Canvas as well as their Zoom links. You should have already received information about your Canvas Observer account, and through that you can view your child or your children's coursework and upcoming assignments. If you don't have your Canvas Observer account set up yet, you can go to the family portal on the district website. And you'll see a page that gives lots of information. And even if you do have your Canvas Observer account set up, there are many helpful resources on that page. I created a little bit.ly so you can get to it easier. It's bit.ly/Canvas Observer account to get that set up or get your questions answered. The last thing I want to touch on is professional learning for the district's teachers. So we're using the work of John Savory and Catlin Tucker, which is the vocal framework, which is a framework that consists of what are the traits that make a teacher a successful online learner. So vocal stands for visible, organized, caring, analytical, and leading. So the professional development that our teachers completed 5 days before the school year started with students was based in developing these traits. So everything tied back to these specific traits of what does it mean to be a successful teacher and in the new context of what a classroom looks like. We also worked with a group of teacher leaders across the district to develop guidelines for consistent practices to support the student Canvas experiences. So those are 6 guidelines that help keep things consistent across different courses. So a student's not having to look for things in different places within the same Canvas learning management system as they go from class to class. And the other piece is our ongoing reflection and professional development opportunities. So as we're all in this new situation, we're constantly reflecting on what has worked and what are the emerging needs for our teachers and our students. And so through that constant cycle of reflection and looking forward to how we can support our students and teachers, that's how we're moving through this brand new world of teaching and learning. And I will turn it back to Dr. Kimke. Thank you.
All right, so thanks to everyone that was able to present tonight. And like I mentioned, this team with me this evening is behind the scenes working to make sure that we're supporting your students at the highest level. And there's a lot more information to come, as you've heard from each one of those panelists, on different engagement series that we'll do with the families upcoming. And you know, I think we were looking to see if there were any additional questions that came up and through the email exchange. So I was going to check with Laura to see if there are, otherwise we may have the opportunity to end early.
So thank you, Dr. Kempke. I don't see any questions to address, but members of the public are certainly welcome to use this email at any time, and we will respond to your inquiries.
All right. Well, with that, I think I've just offered you all an extra 15 to 20 minutes of your time tonight. So as I mentioned, we'll continue to offer engagement events and listen to the concerns and questions that come up as we move forward during this strange time. So we wish you the best evening possible, and we'll see you again in the virtual realm.